Welcome to this video, where I will be taking a look into the history of GTA Online and figuring out whether or not it actually is a good game. Before we start, I just want to mention that while most information I will be providing is factual, I will share some of my opinions to decide the final verdict. Please be respectful in the comments, but feel free to disagree with my opinions. If you enjoy the video, please consider leaving a like and subscribing. It's super easy for you, but it helps me out a ton. Thanks for clicking on the video, where I look into GTA Online's history to determine whether or not it's ever been a great game. Firstly, we have to look pretty far into the past. Some may be unaware, but GTA Online didn't launch with the base game, instead releasing 2 weeks later on the 1st of October 2013. The base game itself would launch on the 17th of September and immediately be a commercial success. Due to the substantial amount of hype and promotion for the game, it became the fastest selling entertainment product ever made, earning 800 million in just 24 hours. Discussing whether or not GTA 5 was a good game is on the agenda for a future video, but for now, let's get back to GTA Online. At launch, it was pretty glitchy and had many issues that could outright lead to accounts being wrongly banned. Fortunately, many game-breaking issues would be fixed by Rockstar relatively quickly. As we know, Rockstar releases at least a couple updates a year, and this has stayed true since the game's release. 2013 introduced a few small updates. Heists and assets weren't a part of the game yet. The very first update was the Beach Bum update that released on the 19th of November. This update was pretty small by today's standards, but added in content like new jobs, player customization, new weapons, and beach-specific outfits. The end of the 2013 year saw the release of the Content Creator Update and Capture Update. Content Creator introduced the Job Editor, which allowed players to create their own races and death matches. This was dropped on the 10th of December. Soon after this, Rockstar would release the Capture Update on the 18th, their take on the Capture the Flag game. The final update was a Christmas update released on December 24th. Snow was added onto the game's world on Christmas Day, and festive clothing would be added. 2014 was a big year as we saw the release of 8 new updates for GTA Online, the first of which being the Valentine's Day Massacre Special. This was a gangster-themed update with usual clothing and weapons added. This update came out on the 13th of February. Next up was the Business Update that once again added weapons and clothing as well as tattoos and 3 new vehicles. It was released on March 4th. The High Life Update followed the usual trend, releasing new cars, clothing and weapons. This update also added high-end apartments as well as jobs and contact missions. This update was made available to players on May 13th. The I'm Not a Hipster update released on June 17th and introduced 7 new vehicles and 12 new jobs. Moving forward, I'm going to be discussing the major updates. We've covered all the early updates to show where the game was at shortly after release. If I covered every single update, the video would be an hour long, so thank you for watching to this point. If you've enjoyed so far, consider subscribing and let's get into the bigger updates. March 10th, 2015 saw the big release of the Heists update, which also added the adversary mode into the game. The Import-Export update on December 2016 was a substantial update with 18 new land vehicles. This update also added vehicle and cargo warehouses available for purchase. 2017 saw the release of the Gunrunning update that introduced new vehicles and bunkers. The end of the year saw a big heist update with the Doomsday Heist. Players were now able to purchase facilities and complete this new heist. The update adds the customary new vehicles, but many were related to the update being weaponized. 2018 saw the release of the After Hours update that introduced nightclubs. The final update of the year added Arena Wars. 2019 only consisted of 2 major updates, both relating to the Diamond Casino. The first of these updates opened the Diamond Casino to players with a fully explorable interior, as well as new vehicles and penthouses. Part 2 of the update added in the Diamond Casino heist, as well as arcades. 2020 again consisted of 2 updates, the first of which was quite small, adding in new missions, races and arcade games. The Summer Special update dropped on the 11th of August. Arguably, the biggest update the game would come out on December 15th. The Cayo Perico heist added a whole new location, which should have been available in free roam, but I'll rant in another video about that one. In this location, players could complete a new heist, being able to be completed either solo or with up to 3 players. The Kosatka submarine was also added in this update. Los Santos Tuners kicked off the 2021 year of updates on July 20th. This update introduced new races and missions, but more importantly of course, was the addition of the LS Car Meet, a large space where players could purchase cars and show off and customize their own. The end of the year saw the contract DLC become available to us. This update introduced Franklin from the story mode of GTA 5 into online, as well as giving the player a new business to run, the agency. 2022 had relatively small updates, adding mainly new missions, vehicles and customization. 2023 was relatively similar in that aspect, but the Chop Shop update was notable for allowing players to own law enforcement vehicles. And as of recording this video, the last GTA Online update was the Bottom Dollar Bounty update released on the 20th of June 2024. This update introduced new police vehicles and new dispatch missions. Overall, it was a pretty small update. Wow, that was a lot, right? So now that we've looked into every year of GTA Online's existence, let's figure out if the game is actually up to par with modern games. So for this part, I'm going to be splitting the video up into 5 categories to decide if the game meets modern standards and if it can be even considered a good game as of 2024. Firstly, let's look at the updates. And don't worry, I'm not going to list the updates again, that was crazy, but after sitting through all of that, you and I both know that this game receives quite a lot of updates. In saying this, we can tell that they began releasing fewer updates as the years went on. The early years saw the release of around 5 to 8 updates each year, all ranging in size. Some were pretty small and some were pretty big updates. Now, however, they opt for 2 a year usually, choosing quality over quantity, and they are of course busy on GTA 6 as of now, so updates will of course be slowed down. Despite this, GTA has received a lot of updates, receiving 45 overall, unless I've miscounted, which is absolutely possible. Although they have lowered recently, there's plenty of updates that provide players with content. For updates, I'm giving GTA Online a 4 out of 5. While the game is vast and has plenty of content, the fact that updates are slowing down of course due to GTA 6 development, and often just offer basically just new customization, and that's about it. I can't give it a 5, but 4 is still a pretty good score. Category 2 is the graphics. As I think we all know, GTA 5 isn't the best graphically. Now to me, this doesn't really matter, but unfortunately, it is a large part as to why games sell the way they do nowadays. For 2013 though, I think the game looks insanely great. And in saying all this, the game doesn't actually look bad by any means, especially when you compare it to other games that came out in 2013. And when you look at the sheer size of the world, I think we can accept lower graphical fidelity for quality in terms of gameplay. When compared to other 2013 games, as I said, it holds up pretty well. I'm going to give it a 3 because nowadays it's not that great, but for the time it was awesome. Next up, we're going to look at the gameplay. GTA has always had pretty good gameplay. The first 2 games aside, GTA 3 introduced a large open world that Rockstar would continue to further upon in each subsequent release. Gameplay changes from game to game, with 3 in Vice City feeling different to San Andreas, and 4 feeling completely different to 5. Although similar options like the ability to drive, run and shoot for example, well it's GTA, I'm going to cut that out, they feel completely different to pull off in the game's world. GTA Online uses the base game's gameplay, which I am personally mixed on. The driving has moments of feeling fun, but sometimes it just doesn't really do much for me. I can't explain it, I know I'm weird, but it's fine. When compared to other GTA games, overall the gameplay is an improvement, but because we're looking at online specifically, we have to look at online specific things like the vehicles, which unfortunately were not perceived so well. That's meant to say received. Vehicles like the Oppressor Mark II and other futuristic vehicles ruin the world of GTA Online to many and heavily impacts the story of the game if you care about that. But overall for gameplay, I'm going to give Online a 3 out of 5. So story is the next part that I want to delve into. Although not all that important in GTA Online admittedly, story is an important element to basically every game that is released today. I won't go over the aspects of the story because I'm definitely not an expert. I instead want to focus on the world itself. The game takes place in 2013 and carries out into the present day. This being the case, how are there flying cars and bikes, as well as facilities that are the size they are, with the capabilities that they have as well? I know I'm kind of poking holes into the game here, and many of you likely don't even care about the story, which fair enough to be honest. But for those of you who do care, or at least understand the point I'm making, you can see this doesn't really make sense and impacts the timeline of the game. Because there isn't all that much to go off, I'm once again giving the game a 3 out of 5 for this. Finally, let's look at the reception by fans. You might be curious as to how this decides whether the game is actually good or not in some ways, but what fans think of the game is pretty important as it impacts reviews, sales, and company image. Now, I'm aware I can't speak for everyone that has bought the game, of course, but the consensus as far as I know is that most believe it's a good game, but is often tarnished by Rockstar and Take-Two's greed, which I completely agree with. Although the game has issues, there is a reason that is one of the best-selling games ever made. When discussing greed, I'm talking about shark cards, as well as GTA 5 being sold on 3 console generations. As well as this, players had to re-buy the game each time, which is pretty greedy when you realise the amount that Rockstar makes every year and currently has. As well as the fact that most PS4 games offered players a free upgrade for that game when purchasing a PS5. Relating to the PS5, Expanded and Enhanced didn't do all that much, at least so far that I've noticed, and as I basically just said, I don't really notice much of a difference between it and PS4 and that version. That might just be me, but I'm not sure. Of course, again, this is just my view, but I believe a lot of people may have similar opinions to me for that. For fan reception, again, it's going to be a 3. So what's the overall result? Well, for category 1, updates, I gave the game a 4. For every other category, I gave the game a 3. The highest possible score is 25, and based on my rankings, the game scored a 16. This means it is an above average game, but there is room for improvement. Thank you all for watching. I know that was quite a lot. I really appreciate you watching until the end. I'm scared to edit this one, I'm not gonna lie. Before I go, please like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and follow me on TikTok and join my Discord. Both links are on my channel's homepage. It means a lot to me. Have a great day, and I hope to see you in the next video, and remember, you're a legend.